goodness. I feel worse than toddlers or small children. Come on. No. Okay, well, I'll keep it open for you. All right. So, welcome to A Fool's Journey, where I have intimate chats with indie creators. And joining us today is the lovely Lalania Simone, the artist and author of The Tarot of the Cosmic Seed. Thank you for joining me today, Lalania.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, I was really excited after reading a little bit more about you to have this chat because I saw in your bio that you are not only Puerto Rican, but Mexican as well, with some other spices mixed in.
It's
Of
true.
course, you know, my father is Mexican and Chilean, and my mother is Italian and Scottish and some other spices as well. So as soon as I saw the deck, seeing some of the symbolism and stuff, it immediately made me think of my Mexican roots. And I wasn't aware that you were Mexican at the time, but I was just like, wow, I think this is the first time I've seen things like the Aztec wheel and things like that in a deck, And so that got me really excited.
That's great.
All right. So I wanted to start with this statement that I read in your little book, and it said, I come from the cosmos and was raised by the streets. Can I tell you how much I loved that? I think that resonated with me so much.
Yeah, my life was really wild when I was young because I grew up when there was crack and gangs everywhere in my neighborhood, and so there's quite a bit of history there.
Yeah. Did you grow up are you in California?
No, I'm in Colorado.
You're
I'm
in
in
Colorado.
Boca.
Did you grow up in Colorado?
I did. I grew up here, but I think what happened was we had a lot of the Mexican gangs here. So we had like a lot of the Vatos and the Cholos and things like that. But then we also had a lot of gangs that came down from California. So we had Bloods and Crips that were started from people relocating to Colorado.
All through that whole west portion, it really kind of infiltrated us, from that whole LA area. It kind of just went right on through. I grew up outside of LA. I wasn't in like LA proper. I was in a tiny little town called Pomona, which was right outside of Los Angeles. And yeah, we got a lot of the same types of things. So
yeah,
I really resonated with that statement, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
yeah. We're homegirls.
Yes. So as I had said before, I could tell that your deck really reflected a lot of your own culture and traditions. And as I said, this was the first time I had seen certain symbolisms, such as the Aztec calendar or the Aztec wheel, and just families. Like you had like the Mexican family with the sombreros on and stuff, and authentic looking, like it was more like heritage, and that blew me away. I don't think I was expecting that. I hadn't read a lot into you personally before I had gotten the deck. I had seen images, people doing like little walkthroughs and things, but that was the first time I'd seen it. And so that got me really excited. Did you know from the start that this was the direction you were going to go in with this deck?
Well, I started reading professionally a few years ago when I opened my my shop, and as I was starting to really dive into the tarot, because I've had tarot decks for like 20, 30 years and just kind of played with them here and there, and I didn't get serious for a long time. And then once I did, I really couldn't find myself in the decks that I owned. And I couldn't find myself or my people in the decks that I was, searching through. And, this is 6, 7 years ago when I was really getting pretty deep, and I realized I'm going to have to create my own. And since then, we've seen so many amazing decks by people of color and people being really intentional about featuring people of color. And so I think that's definitely a different story now than it was when I started thinking about this. Um, but I knew that it needed to be a deck that featured as many different cultures and races as I possibly could get in there, in a natural way.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I love too, is that it does feel very natural, it feels very authentic, and not something that was forced, or that you're just trying to check some obligatory box.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's diverse. It actually felt. I'm telling you, I actually really like. Wow, this is. It feels familiar. That's the word
Mm.
I'm looking for. And like you said, I don't see that in a lot of decks, and I think the best thing about all these different decks coming out um, are they kind of cover a wide range now, where it's not just the Black community that gets a deck, or just the Latino. You see a lot of different things woven in and out of
Mhm.
the tarot now, which I enjoy. And I wanted to say, I'm not typically huge on collage decks. I have a handful. I'm very particular, but I had to say I was so drawn by the images that you chose for this deck. They're very sacred. It feels like, they're like, they almost have this noble feeling to them that I just really was drawn to.
Mm.
Um, so obviously the name of this series is A Fool's Journey, and I affectionately named it that. Hold on. I'm sorry. Is it freezing on your end, the video?
No, is
It's
it?
not. Okay. I just, it kind of froze a couple times on my end. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that was happening for you as well. Hold on. Maybe if I try that. Okay, there we go. All right. So I affectionately call this series The Fool's Journey, and I call it that because I think those of us who embark on that tarot oracle creator and independently, it takes a little bit of that full energy to do that, right? A
Mhm.
little bit of that boldness and a little bit of that naivety that you need to say, no, I could do this before you just jump off that cliff, right, into this crazy world that you're about to get into. And while it can be scary, I know for for myself, it's been a delightful and exciting journey.
Mhm.
My work personally was inspired by shadow work. My deck was an oracle deck that had shadow work, but I did it for the same thing. I felt like there was a slot missing.
Yeah.
And I also wanted it to be more of people that I could connect with and felt more like myself and my family and my community. Um, I know you said you were a reader and you've been reading for quite a while now. Um, what made you choose this cosmic seed theme for the
Mhm.
deck? Is that something that I had never really heard of this thing, and I kind of looked into it just a little bit, but it's pretty profound. I would love to hear more about the concept and what made you choose this as your theme.
Sure. Well, honestly, so that came from the Mayan calendar.
Mm,
It's one of the glyphs from, I can't even say like where exactly where it came from. My partner was very into that during, I want to say about 15 years ago when I heard the word the cosmic seed, and it just struck me. And so I felt like the cosmic seed was one that was from the cosmos, but had been seeded, had been planted here on
mm.
the earth. And that felt very attuned to me. And honestly, the deck was going to be called the Tarot of the Cosmic Eye, or
Ah,
the Cosmic Eye Tarot. And 3 days before I launched, another group that is called Cosmic Eye Tarot reached out to me and let me know that they have been using the name for quite a while, and that if I went forward, it could be possible that there might be some confusion.
right.
And, I was
Okay.
heartbroken because I had put the eye everywhere in my deck and I had, felt like it was really the name. And then I sat with it for a while and I realized that it was going to be the cosmic seed, because that was me.
I feel like when things like that happen, it's like the universe intervening, right?
Mhm.
3 days before you're supposed to launch. That's something that could really throw you for a loop. But in the end, I have to say, I love the cosmic seed even more than I would the cosmic eye, although that sounds totally cool as well. But there's just something about the cosmic seed that just sounds very
Yeah,
profound.
it's very unique. It's not something that is super common, and so I think that it does
It's
make your
not.
ears
And
perk up.
I wanted to read, when I was looking at your little definition in your book about the cosmic seed, I had to read this. It says, "We are intimate cosmic spirits enmeshed in sacred flesh for a time here on this planet." Holy crap.
Mm.
Right? And I have to say that your deck feels like that. It has this very cosmic feeling. I actually pulled some of my favorite cards out. I actually have a lot more in here than I normally do. I kept dwindling it down, and I was like, nope, these are the last ones. I'm going to dwindle it down to. But they feel somehow very cosmic, but grounded, right? I'm trying to see if I can get this in focus. I gotta get my face out of there. There we go. This feels celestial,
Mm.
like I was trying to think of words to describe it. So my card that I always look for in a deck is the Hermit. And when I saw this, for some reason, the word that came to me immediately was astral travel, like astral
Ooh,
projection,
yes.
and like you're here on earth, but you're not, your
Mhm.
spirit, your mind is just traveling through the cosmos. And that's what I felt like throughout the deck. Like I was kind of here on earth, but traveling through the cosmos.
Mm.
Very, very, this is the
Yeah.
one I'm thinking of. If only my grandfather were still alive. This is such a beautiful card all the way around. This was the one that got me all the feels, because
That
again,
was fun
I
to
can
make
remember.
because I had to find all the different elements, right? Like I wanted to really find a Mexican family, and when I found that family, I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then I knew I had to find, like, where would they be? And so then I had to find the separate little cactuses in the background, and then I found the flowers, and then I was like, "Oh, we need the cups. We need the little Mexican cups." And so that's what was fun about creating this deck and about the use of collage, is the ability to really pull all of these different elements from many, many different places and bring them together.
And I think that's what focusing in here. Okay. Uh First of all, my grandmother has had, those flowers planted in her driveway
Oh, wow.
when I was a kid. That was the immediate connection I made as soon as I saw this card. But yeah, I think that's why this particular collage deck gave me such great feels, is that even though it's collage, the symbolism is rich. Um, Even in this, I immediately, as above, so below. It just gave me this intuitive messages that I was just able to grasp onto
Mm.
right away. Oh,
I wa I really wanted it to be something that someone who was still a novice could pick up and feel their way through the meanings.
speaking of which, I actually really enjoyed the changes you made to the a few of the majors in the courts. You have the page as messenger, the knight as action, the queen as nurturer, and the king as mastery. For a novice, I think that is excellent because the court cards are so difficult to get a grasp on.
Mhm.
There's so many of them, and they tend to overlap in certain areas, and
Yeah.
it can be very difficult to grasp their meaning. And I thought by changing them to that, it really hones in and allows, especially for a novice reader who's really trying to, get a grasp on that. I thought that was very user friendly. And I love the changes you made in the major arcana. The sacred feminine is the empress, and the sacred masculine is the emperor. I just love that. And again, I think I said that in the beginning. The deck feels sacred, and it does. It feels very, very sacred. And then the Hierophant is the teacher, which is brilliant. And I actually really like liberation for judgment.
Mm.
I don't know if I've ever really gotten a liberation from judgment before. And I thought, wow, I guess like freedom and stuff like that, but that word is powerful,
Yeah,
liberation.
I've always really been moved by, my understanding of that particular card. You have the angel and you have people coming out of graves, which to me reminds me of zombies. So I was like, well, we
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
the angel, we have zombies, or people who don't want to be, in the ground anymore, hoping to be forgiven for all of their sins. And to me, that felt like liberation. And I wanted to portray that in a way that felt um, inspiring.
Yes. And I love that. That word is just beautiful. Liberation is such a great word. Um, so it's kind of hard when you're creating your own decks. They're kind of, each card is like your own little baby. But do you have a favorite card or a couple of favorite cards that are just like, yes, these are just my favorite?
Yes. So many. I mean, I feel the same way when I go through the deck and I try to pick some of my favorites. But you've picked a few of them. One of them is the Eight of Cups. Um, I really love the feeling of this. Here, actually, in your background, you have it sitting right under my face to the
Oh yeah.
the right. And so it's like this really old, like ancient structure, this building, and
I'm
it's
so sorry.
floating. Oh no, you're fine. It's
My little
floating.
girl.
It's floating in the sky. And for me, that card, in the traditional tarot, the card is like turning away and leaving things behind. And it
Right.
has a little bit of melancholiness to it, but I wanted it to be adventurous and inspiring, and the idea of really you're going into your infinite self, which is pure potential, and it's also the unknown. And so
It almost feels like you're transcending, instead of just walking away or leaving behind, like
mhm,
you have risen above, this, you are now moved to a different plane almost. And again, that's another one of those cards where it just felt very astral trajectory,
mhm.
you're going into another world. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. My beagle is not, he's not obeying and behaving. Go ahead. Go. No, you don't want to give me a break, do you? Okay. So I just wanted to show a few other features of the cards because they are just beautiful. The cover my face so that you can see. Yes, this back is everything. It's gorgeous. I was looking at your Kickstarter and I saw that you kind of had a few different versions, but something about this blue. I don't know. You have your edging is all blue and gorgeous. It's just beautiful. Did you come up with this design for the back as well?
Mhm.
Girl, so gorgeous. Which now that you told me a little bit about the backstory about it, the eye, the cosmic eye, it kind of makes,
Mhm.
oh wow, it even has an even deeper meaning to it. But and I have to tell you, the purple is my favorite color, and this like a royal,
Mm.
almost like a royal purple with the gold. Again, just very noble, very sacred and wise. Eat the packaging, everything. It's just gorgeous. Um, I
I
want to.
appreciate that. Thank you so much. All of those colors are like jewel tones, and they're my favorite colors. They make my soul hum. And if you look through, like even just looking at this background that you have here, you can see so many of those colors are
Oh,
here. I'm present.
when you lay them, when I laid them all out, I can control people. I can't control the animals. You can tell people stay out. My dog's like, whatever, I don't care what you're doing. Anyway, sorry. No, I totally lost my train of thought because I just pivoted that way. Oh, the colors. So when I was laying all the cards out, I was just like, the purples and blues and I don't know, the palette that you chose, it feels very third eye, very higher self. Again, that the cosmic, cosmos, that whole thing, I got it like all the way through the deck. It just had that feeling of being very magical. And I actually did, whenever I get a new deck, I always like to do like a little deck interview with it and see kind of what place it holds for me. And my reflections on it. This deck is a powerful creative guide to help tap into my passion, wisdom, and creativity, especially good for new perspectives and creative blocks. Yeah, and I thought, oh, for sure. Like if you can't get inspired by these people, I don't know what else you could, but it's very inspiring. You hold them and they just have that vibration where you feel like you're holding something very, very magical. Could you tell when you're creating, and does it feel like you're being called to do it? Was it something that like obviously it shows in the cards that you were fired up about this project. Did you feel called, like pulled to this project?
Well, the thing is I knew I had wanted to create a deck, and I assumed it would be collage because I couldn't imagine drawing every single card. I felt like I'm an Aries, and so I need things to be, I need to be able to see the end. And so something that I would have to draw 78 pictures, and I just couldn't see that. And so I knew I was going to have to probably collage it. And I had been doing hand collage for years and years since I was a child. So I figured I'll just do it on Photoshop. And then I tried it, and I wasn't familiar with Photoshop. And so I tried doing it and realized I had no idea what I was doing. And so I gave up on it. And I said, one day I'm going to learn how to use Photoshop. And then about a year or two later, a friend of mine showed me Procreate on the iPad, and she showed me how to cut and paste things. And I just knew I had found it. And so I took about 30 days to teach myself how to use it. And then I just dove in. And once I started, it was just definitely channeled. It was definitely guided. There were cards that, I was just learning when I started at the Fool and the High Priestess and things like, early on, and that I had to go back after I had really developed my style, halfway through the deck and really redo a lot of cards. So it happened. All in all, it took 9 months to create. And I just loved it. I loved the whole process. And there were times where I just felt like I was drawing blanks. I would do a card and I would do 5 or 6 iterations, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I was like, how am I going to portray this energy? And then I would put the iPad down for a couple of days and come back. And then it was like, boom, there it is.
Walking away can have a profound effect. And I honestly, I almost feel like that's, the intervention of the universe. Because at that point, we've probably been at it for a long time and haven't come up for air.
Yeah.
And it's the only way we're going to stop is to like this block in front of us, and so, and when you do walk away and take some time, it does give you a different like perspective and allow you to kind of come at it from a different way.
Yes, it helps.
Did you find that you learned something new while doing this through about tarot or your relationship with tarot as you were going through this process card by card. You get so intimate and in depth with each card.
Yeah. I mean, now that I read with my own deck, there's really nothing like that. I feel like when you really build a relationship with the tarot, you understand that you will never stop learning from it. You will be a student of it for your life because it
Right.
always has more to show you, to uncover. Um, and you can go so deep. Like, I think about, I don't want to say her name badly, but I want to say Benwell. And she has created a deck called the Spirit Keepers.
Oh, yes. I love
And she wrote a book called The Holistic Tarot. You have
it.
it? I see
Yeah.
it. I see it. Um, there's so much symbology and layers and history, and it has the capacity to be really an infinite opportunity of exploration.
The depth in which she went in creating that deck is unbelievable. So I did my own little journey this year to get a copy of that without paying a disgusting amount. And then I got a copy, but I wanted the book desperately because I really wanted to do a deep dive. I have a autoimmune disease, so the winters are hard, and that's my
Mhm.
time. I tend to just go inward,
Yeah.
and read a lot and study and do things like that. So I thought that this year I'm doing a deep dive into the Spirit Keepers, but I desperately wanted the book and I couldn't find it anywhere. I actually reached out to Benabel Wen and
Oh, wow. Thank you.
she gave me a link to purchase the book. I was so grateful because I was like, I can't deep dive without the book.
Yeah. Well,
That's
she actually just released the second edition pre-order of that deck. And so
saw
I
that.
jumped on it because I also was like, I don't know if I'm ready to pay $350 for this deck, but I
No, and I see it go up as far as 800 sometimes if it's got like
Mhm.
everything, the book, the deck, it can be ridiculous. But yeah, that is definitely a deck that's like very, very rich and complex. Um, so you had mentioned before a couple times, there's blocks and things, and um, what kept you motivated through the whole process? Did you find it difficult to stay motivated, or was it more like you're on fire and you can't stop?
Mhm. Well, honestly, like after I finished the first like 10 cards, I was like, well, 10 down, 68 to go, and I would say, wow,
That sounds
how
like so.
am I going to do this? But um, it was definitely an inspired project. Uh, I just completed an Oracle deck, which I also just kickstarted really recently, and that
What's the name of it? It's
the Oracle of Awakening.
Oracle. Yes, I just saw that. I'm super excited. I'm going to definitely pre-order that. I was looking at some of the images and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. And I feel
How,
like that was also inspired. Like after I finished this deck and had everything complete, I felt like I had so much more in me, and so I started that right away. But honestly, like those last few cards were really hard to finish. It wasn't necessarily. It was still a magnificent experience because with an oracle, you just make up whatever you want the people to hear or learn or be inspired by comes completely from you versus the foundation, the structure of the tarot.
right? There's no guide.
So I got to
Every
explore things that I couldn't necessarily explore in the tarot, which I did love. But the tarot felt like it felt inspired, like that it was meant to be here, and I just had to bring it through.
I almost felt like half the time I would read some of the inserts into my guidebook, and I almost felt like I had no memory of writing it.
Mhm.
Like I would be called to come and work at about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, these like wee hours, and my office is in a sunroom, so the moon would be out. It was very, the atmosphere was perfect. But I don't know if it was a combination of because it was so early or just literally being, well, I literally would read this and go, I have literally no memory. I mean, and most of it I did, but there were passages in there that I was just like, it felt like it just spoke through me,
Mhm.
like almost I was like a, just the vessel
We
type.
are. I think that we are, and I think that's true with pretty much every art form, right? Not
Yeah,
necessarily maybe honored in that way by a lot of people, but I think that we are vessels. We're vessels for our own spirit, and we're definitely vessels for the cosmic spirit, the source of all things. And I think if you're doing something that has the capacity to maybe even benefit the planet in some way, that it allows you to tap into a pure space.
absolutely. And your deck felt very ancestral, and did you feel like you were connecting somehow to your ancestors through this deck? That's what I got when I picked it up.
Mhm.
It just felt like there were messages from the ancestors in there. You know what I mean? That kind of
Yes,
feeling.
absolutely. Especially when I was working specifically with cards that tapped into my ancestry that I'm really familiar with, right? Which is like, I mean, I have nation like 18 nations in my ancestry, but the ancestry that I grew up with is my Mexican ancestry.
Mhm.
And so working with those cards in particular, like even the high priestess, who I don't necessarily know what her ancestry is, but she felt very Latina to me.
Oh
The
yeah.
woman that I found, the image that I found for that, and also the nurturer of wands,
Mm.
she felt like very Puerto Rican to me. And so as I was working, with certain images, definitely felt like I was tapping into some ancient bloodlines.
Some ancient wisdom, because that's what it feels like. Definitely, that it definitely comes through the deck. Um, you said you have been with tarot for, oh goodness, again, worse than toddlers or small children. Come on. No, okay, well I'll keep it open for you. Um, you said you had. It's terrible. So you had mentioned before you'd been doing tarot for quite a long time, 20, 30 years, correct? You said
Well, not necessarily in that capacity. It's just been in my life that
in
long.
your life that long. What called you to begin working with tarot to begin with?
My mother gave me my first deck probably when I was in my very early 20s. Around that time, I also started working with runes. She
Oh,
gave me the mother piece. Is it mother piece?
yeah, the mother piece, the round one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a.
With
I
all the
had
is that the one with all the goddesses?
a. Mm,
No.
mm-mm.
It's the Sisters of the Moon. It's by the same artist, but it was their first deck.
Okay,
So Sisters of the Moon, and then they did the mother piece.
okay,
Um, then I picked up some runes, and so I started working with divination, but in a kind of light, like social,
right.
something to kind of play around with. And then I opened. I have a metaphysical shop. It's called Alchemy Ritual Goods, and it's here in Denver. And as I started running this shop, I was getting readings from some of our practitioners, and two different very powerful um, diviners said that it was time for me to start reading. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to memorize 978 cards.
Make cards. Yeah.
But I decided to apply myself. And I used an incredible book actually that really helped me learn the cards in a way that's not just like trying to turn pages and memorize things. It's called Tarot 101, and it's
Mm,
a course, and there's assignments and this and that. And so that was many, many years ago. That was the way that I really learned how to work with the information on a more archetypal way.
Did you start with the traditional Rider-Waite
Yeah,
Smithing?
I decided to use the Rider-Waite so that I could apply that imagery and symbology across
Mhm.
any deck I now work with. And so, yeah, it was a bit of a journey. I think all in all, it took me about a year to feel really confident about reading, and then about a year after that is when I said, I think I'm ready to.
Did your mother read?
Yeah, she reads, but not like professionally, for herself.
For
She
herself.
used to read the herbal tarot for whenever anyone in the family was sick. She would do a reading on the herbal tarot, and then she would make us teas and
Oh.
tinctures depending on the readings.
That's a beautiful deck. My niece just got that deck.
Mhm.
She has that deck. She loves that deck. Um, I was at North the Northwest Tarot Symposium recently.
I mean, I just heard of that afterwards. I'm so sad.
It was a great experience. I highly recommend it to anybody if you happen to be on the West Coast or anywhere near it. It was such a great experience. I learned so much. The courses were great. Um, but while I was there, they have a huge like shopping area where you can come vendors and things like that. And so tons of tarot vendors. And I actually picked up it was the body deck, the body tarot. And it actually associates each card with different parts of the
Oh,
body.
wow.
Yeah, so I partnered that with a couple of my herbal decks to try to as a kind of what's really ailing me and how to fix it or how to repair that. And I love it. It's a great way to go, to work with yourself and connect with your
That's
own body.
awesome.
Yeah. I love those kinds of decks. That's awesome that your mom used to read. Wow, that's really cool. Does she
Mhm.
still read now? Is your mom still?
She doesn't really pull the cards out very often anymore. Um, she sometimes says that she wants to, and she thinks about it, but she just hasn't done it.
I feel like we go in and out.
Mhm.
I've heard people who read for a long time and then they don't use it for like 5 years, 10 years. And then one day, right back where they started from,
Mhm.
full blown. And it ebbs and it flows, and I think it's better when you don't force it,
Mhm.
otherwise you end up creating this block.
Yeah. I
That
feel like, I've tried to do the tarot workbooks where you do every day and you do one or three cards, and I'll get through 3 weeks and be like, "Hey, this is great." And then I won't touch it again for 6 months, and
I
I
learned,
don't
I
read for
learned
myself very
something.
often.
I learned that about myself recently, that I
Mhm.
I am not a journaler in that way. I journal when it comes to me, when I feel like I need to.
Mhm.
I'm not a daily person or have like a regular schedule, and um, I pull several times a week. I wouldn't even say I pull daily. I
Mhm.
pull several times a week. I usually do it in the morning. Sometimes I'll do it a couple times a day, but it's not consistent enough, and I am not good with monotony. So I think that's what happens. It starts to feel monotonous after a while, and
Mhm.
it feels forced instead of me coming to tarot when I feel I need to,
Yeah.
when I have something that I need to ask, or
Mhm.
there's a purpose, you know.
Exactly. So I mean, I really do love, like, I think there's a part of me that wishes I was more into doing that, like, day-to-day thing, because I think there's something to seeing the patterns. Like, I've seen people graph out
Mm,
the year and see how many times a certain card shows up, and different things like that. So there is something to deepening that relationship as you do the daily experience. And so one of my projects that I want to work on, and possibly in this next year, is creating a tarot workbook that is not a tarot planner. So it's not like I have to do this on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and this is all laid out for me, but more like, whenever you feel like opening this workbook, there are inspirations and spreads and different things that um, you can explore.
I like that because I feel like the dated ones and they go to waste. If I don't use it every day and there's these, it's like all this paper wasted, all this
Hmm.
stuff wasted, and I can't reuse it because it's dated,
It's dated.
Yeah, so it's like, which is unfortunate. Some of them I end up just like ripping some pages out to keep that had some things that I wanted to hold on to, and not
Hmm.
like having to like recycle the book. But I feel like I have made peace. I want so badly to be one of those people, and I'm not.
Me neither.
I just had to make peace. The other day, I had to just I call it my third voice. She laughed at me and was like, "You're just not that person." And I had to laugh out loud and go, "I am not that person. I'm just not. Never have been. I don't know why I thought I suddenly would be, um." But I do enjoy it. I like it better when I can just do it on my own time and my own terms. I still do keep a tarot journal, but it's something I do when I'm called to instead
Yeah.
of on a routine basis. I appreciate people who are that way. I'm just not. I'm just not that
Same.
person. Well, I so appreciate you hanging out with me
Oh,
today.
it's been such an honor. You're so lovely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I was so excited to have you. I'm been searching for creators, and I really wanted to get with creators that I felt some kind of connection with the decks or the artwork instead of just kind of like, oh, you're available. Let's get you.
Mhm.
I'll find something I can talk to you about. Um, so I really appreciate when I can find creators that I can like really connect with on something about their artwork. So this has just been a real pleasure for me. And again, you have your other deck, your new Oracle that's pre-order. It's available for pre-order, correct?
It is available for pre-order.
The
The
Oracle of
easiest,
the Awakening. Is that correct?
yes. My website is cosmicseedsacredgoods.com.
And I'll
There's
put a link to it all down below when I
Yes.
post the video.
Thank you. That's awesome. And my Instagram as well is a way to reach my little shop. So
I loved following your artwork when you were creating this deck on Instagram.
thank
Just
you.
beautiful. It was just coming together.
I
So,
I actually am down to about 80 decks left of my first edition of Tarot of the Cosmic Seed.
ooh,
1,000 printed. I am thinking about,
that's a milestone. That's exciting. Wow. Out of 1,000, you have 80. Wow. Congratulations.
yes, I'm excited. I think I'm going to do a second edition with a different box and card back happening next year or early the following year, depending on what demand is looking like by then. So there'll
It's
be
still
another edition
looking
for
like
sure.
it's not running out. That people still are going. I've seen some Kickstarters hit almost 500,000 recently. Um, it's unbelievable. I know. And it's not even one. It's like several have
Yeah.
reached 300, 400, like it's crazy. So fortunate for us creators. Knock on wood.
When is
It's
yours? Have you done yours already? The Pooh?
my oracle is out. The Pooh are still in progress. We're going to Kickstarter in February of 2023. So we're about 3/4 of the way through the major arcana in terms of the artwork. So little by little, that's been my own cool little journey with the tarot because my first experiences with Oracle, I just dipped my toe in
Mhm.
before I dived in with the tarot. So it's been a cool journey. So before I let you go, I always like to ask the creators if you have a Yoda sage like piece of advice you would offer from your own journey to other budding creators who want to do their own tarot and oracle decks. If you could offer like one thing that you would like to say or you wish somebody would have said to you, what
Hmm.
would it have been?
Well, I think that it's a long journey. And so make sure that you're ready to really apply yourself for the long term. It is not something that is going to be one of those. quick and dirty situations. I mean, there's AI now, so
Oh, let's
that's
not
a whole
get
other topic.
started. Oh, let's not get started on AI.
But if you're creating your deck, even if it's like mine, which is collage or drawing, or you can do it, and there's somebody who's going to love your deck out there. There's probably a whole bunch of people who are going to love your deck. I didn't know who was going to want my deck, and people loved it, and people are buying it off the shelves all over the world right now, and it feels really incredible to know that something I created is meaningful to somebody else. So do what you love and keep working through it.
I think that's excellent advice. I think when you pour love into it, people are going to connect with that energy that you put in. So that's beautiful advice.
Agreed.
Thank you again, Lalania, for
You're
being with
welcome.
me today.
My pleasure.
I will be posting this hopefully this week, and I will put all your links below. And I will also include your social media. And please go out there and check out her new Oracle deck. It is unbelievable. It is so beautiful. It has that very sacred feeling, just as the tarot deck does. So I'm really excited for it. Until next time, stay wild, everybody.